with shapes and texture and some color and our name on the bottom, we are ready to add the final step. Now, it might look like I didn't finish everything, but I did. I'll show you with a surprise coming up. What's this last step surprise? Well, it's happening right behind my paper. There it is. You've used these before, I betcha. They're watercolors. So each little rectangle has paint, sometimes we call it pigment, and it just needs water in order to activate it. So we'll set up our tables just like we did for our painting. Paper towel, water, brushes, and then the paint. Now the paint has to be activated first. That means you have to add water. It's the only way to get it to actually become paint. So what I'm doing right here is just dripping water into my paints. I'm trying not to touch the color because then I'd have to wash my brush. No big deal if you do. But if the paints are dry, you need to drizzle a little bit of water in each square and say, wake up, paint. We need you today. Now the key to this is putting paint over the top of our crayon. So crayon is actually made of wax, and wax is waxy. Of course it is. Wax is going to resist or kind of like put up a barrier with the paint and the water. It doesn't like it, basically saying, get off me. So you see me and I've got some watery paint, and I went in with blue. So I have some blue on my brush, but mostly a really wet paintbrush. Look at that, you guys. The texture is fighting to show through the paint. The crayon saying, I was here first. Why don't you find another spot to hang out? And the paint will. Actually, the paint will find its way in between and next to and over, maybe a little bit under the crayon. And it's going to attach itself to the paper. So any part of your paper that is not covered with the waxy crayon is going to change color to whatever color of paint you're using. It takes longer than you think, and you want to try to keep your painting even. Like you could tell when I first stuck my brush in the water, it was too watery and too light colored. Then I went and made too much paint, so then it was too dark, not enough water. You can kind of spread that out, but you have to act quickly. I'll show you at the end, but just in case you feel like you've made a huge mistake, don't worry, don't panic. The paint actually dries lighter at the very end, so it will lighten up. As you continue, you just want to think about adding a variety of colors to your spaces. So in the same way that you were choosing crayon colors for different spaces, you're going to now do the same thing with paint. This time I just went with black. You never know how dark it's going to be. It might be more gray if I add more water. And I put it on top of that neon pink, hoping that the neon pink would look even brighter with the black paint. It ended up a little bit more grayish, but I still really like it. I like those two colors together. We haven't painted for about 2 months or so, so don't forget, best painting techniques: hold your brush like a pencil, point your brush tip, the hairs, right toward the line, and that's going to give you more control. And typically, we would spend a lot of time wiping the brush on the paper towel. But for this project, you want that extra water, so I don't even think my paper towel got wet except a couple drips. Picking a different color. This time I went with purple. Ooh, it really shows up actually very nicely. There's a purple triangle in the middle of that shape, and I just covered it up. Whoops. Oh well. Purple on purple. It'll just look darker purple. Some of the colors work great. Sometimes I think, I wish I would have done something differently. But when your paper is full, there's so many cool things going on with the shapes, and then the colors, and then the texture, and then more color. I think that it's going to end up looking pretty cool. So don't get too upset about one area or two areas that you don't love. It'll work out. Oh man, there's another mistake. Oh well, in the end, hopefully I cover it up, or maybe people just won't notice. And that was that surprise section, by the way, with the white. Okay, it's gonna take forever, so let's put this thing on speed paint. Don't you wish you could paint this fast? I wish I could do something this fast. I don't think I do anything this fast. All right, working on different colors, mixing it up, lots of water. Best painting technique. Yep, paper towel's still dry until I wipe my brush. And there it is, all finished. Kind of cool. And there it is after an hour or so of drying. So that color does lighten up. We're going to need some teamwork for jobs today. The job chart should look actually kind of familiar. We did the same thing when we were using regular paint, except this time we'll need those yellow watercolors. So the yellow person will get the yellow watercolors. I think 2 per table should be just fine. Green person, you're still paper towels. Do you remember where to get those? They're in the back of the room. And blue person, you are the water and brush person.